am already in such a bad mood. This is such a terrible idea. Hi, long time no see. This is Emma Wonk. I'm such a good YouTuber. I don't remember the last time I read a book. Actually, no. I think the last book I finished was when I finished my 31 books in 31 days. I haven't even talked about books in the last month, and given it is now the end of April, I haven't even filmed my wrap up for that 31 books in 31 days. If you still want it, I'll happily do it, but like, you've probably lost interest by now, and fair enough. But I thought, what better way to beat my reading slump and actually get some books read in April than to do a 24-hour reading challenge. And by 24 hours, I mean literally 24 hours from the time I start to the time I finish, not timer method, because that was a slog. So I don't even know what time it is now, but if it's sort of 10:30, I'll probably start at 11, finish 11 tomorrow. See, I can do maths. And since I didn't really know what to read, because like usually in 24-hour readathons I get really stressed about what to read, because I'm like, oh, I don't need a TBR, and then I don't have a TBR and I'm like, well, I don't know what to read now. And I usually read romances because I read them really quickly, but I'm not in the mood for romance at all. But I decided what I am in the mood for are thrillers. This is my thriller Kindle because it's Reputation themed. Ta-da! I have discussed my Kindle usage before, do not judge me right now. But I accumulate so many thrillers. I have so many on here and I just never read them. So I thought, I read them quick, they're fun, they're plot driven, I don't have to think too much. I'm gonna have a great time just reading loads of thrillers in 24 hours. Is that not such a great idea? Thank you. I'm gonna do my best to keep it non-spoilery, because like the whole point of thrillers is you go into it and you try and work out what happens. Basically what I'm looking for is a book that made me feel the way I felt when I read We Were Liars for the first time when I was like 11, and it was the first book I'd picked up in like years, and it was the most magical experience because that book is mind-blowing, like for a little 11-year-old. I mean, even now it's a pretty cool book, but like I just want to feel like that again. So that's my goal for reading these thrillers, is to feel that feeling where you're like reading a book and you're like, this is cool. This is gonna be my best friend. I've always worried about doing like Kindle versions of doing 24-hour readathons without having the physical books, but I don't own many physical thrillers. Like I have some of my favourites. I have like the Gillian Flynn books because I am a Gone Girl stan. So maybe if I like want to read a physical book, I'll pick up one of those that I haven't read. I think there's only 2 I haven't read, but still. I always feel like if you can't see the progress I'm making with like the physical book, then no one's going to enjoy the video. But I weighed it up in my head and it was either no video for the next 4 weeks, or I read on my Kindle, so I'm reading on my Kindle. I do have to choose the books though, which is hard because there's like 300 books on it. And I'm like, how does one choose? I don't know, but she's called Don't Blame Me because that's my favourite song off Reputation, and obviously that's what this Kindle is based on. I feel like if I go through the newest ones, then I'm not going to read one that I found that like I might not know about. So I think I'm going to sort it by alphabetical order. I think I'm going to go with the new Holly Jackson because I know I love Holly Jackson's writing, so it's a good way to ease myself into reading a lot today. I don't know how long it is. Should we have a look? 487 pages. I chose the longest one I could find. That's really long for a thriller. I guess we'll see how fast I read it. But immediately as I've clicked on it, there is a family tree. I love these sort of like multimedia things that Holly Jackson does. Give me the podcasts and the Reddit posts. I love it. I have a video on my TikTok of me reading the final 2 Good Girl's Guide to Murder books, and I very much enjoy them, and I like how Holly Jackson writes, so hopefully it shouldn't take too long, despite the fact it's nearly 500 pages long, and that's a terrible idea for what I wanted to do for this video, which was read loads of like short thrillers. But we move. I'm gonna go downstairs. I think it's a Saturday, so all my family are home. Who knows what my dad's watching on the telly, but I feel the urge to go downstairs, so that's what we're gonna do. So I am, this is upside down, a quarter of the way through the reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. And I knew I shouldn't have been worried about it being 500 pages long because it reads so fast. Just like every Holly Jackson book I've read. I don't know, something about the way she writes is really fast-paced and engaging. And you're like, oh, I'll read one more chapter, and then one more chapter is like 5 more chapters. So yes, I am very much enjoying it. I feel like it's not a spoiler to say, since it's in the like title of the book, that Rachel Price has reappeared. So Rachel Price is our main character, Belle's mum, and she disappeared when Belle was a baby. And it's like this big true crime mystery. So they're filming a documentary about it. And during this documentary filming, Rachel has reappeared. I've just got to the bit where Rachel has reappeared. It's definitely intriguing. I really like the commentary on. I find, because obviously like the uptake in true crime and stuff like that, it's really interesting now to see the wave of books that are about true crime, but like the impact on victims rather than like the actual mysteries themselves. So obviously we're doing this documentary, but we're seeing it from the perspective of someone who is like a victim of the crime, kind of. So it's quite interesting commentary to be like, oh yeah, like people are gonna watch this on Netflix and be like, and like have their conversations about it. It reminds me a lot of The Staircase. I don't know if anyone's watched that on, when it was on Netflix, of a guy who was like accused of killing his wife, and then they like thought it was an owl or something. Anyway, it reminds me a lot of that. So we're definitely seeing like two sides to the story, but now things are like, it's gone in a different direction than I thought we were going, because I think obviously the mystery and the thriller part is going to be what happened to Rachel, because she doesn't know like really what happened to her. But Belle is very standoffish, which like you read it and you're like, okay, I understand why she's feeling like this, because like she's been through trauma. This is like, her dad was accused of like killing her mum, which obviously he didn't do because she's still alive. So like you understand her trauma response, but you're still just like, I don't like this. Like if it was me, but obviously like I don't know what I would do because I've never been thankfully put in that situation. But I'm like, she doesn't believe her mum. She doesn't feel like comfortable with what's happening. And I just feel like I feel standoffish towards Belle, because I'm like, are you not just happy that your mum is alive? like there's been no real moment of, oh my god, she's alive. It's literally gone from, this is weird, to something's not right. Which, like, again, I understand, but also, if you've lived your whole life thinking that your mum was dead, I feel like there would be a bit of excitement that she, like, or a bit of happiness that she wasn't. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, my plan is now to snuggle up in bed, and carry on reading. The good thing is, where I used to like fall asleep all the time while I was reading, I can't fall asleep at the moment without medication, so it's highly unlikely I'll take a nap. And it also means tonight I'm going to get some excellent reading done, because I'm just not going to take my sleep meds. I haven't decided what I'm going to read yet. What I'm going to watch, sorry. Because normally you guys know I'll put Susie on, but Susie, it's F1 Academy next weekend, so I feel like I've got to keep my Susie reserves down, or I'm going to get too excited. But the Snooker World Championships is on, and you might be thinking, wow, Meg, you're a 22-year-old woman, why on earth are you watching snooker? Are you a granddad? Yes, is the answer. I also have a thing for Ronnie O'Sullivan, don't ask. It's very comforting, I like it. It's nice to have on in the background, okay? Okay, I'm aware I'm weird. It's autism. So yeah, I'm gonna pop that on, and yeah, snuggle in and get some really good reading done. I've just thought about why I haven't been reading, because like now I am reading, I'm like, oh, this is great, why wasn't I doing this? And I think it's because I had books on the go when I started like the 31 books in 31 days challenge, but then because I left them for like that month, when I came back to them I just was not interested in them. So like I was reading like a couple of pages and just not really caring. But then I feel guilty about like not reading them because I enjoyed it when I was reading it before the challenge. So I feel like giving myself permission to just read a new book has definitely prompted something in me to be like, oh yeah, you do like reading. So maybe I'm just gonna have to put the books I was reading down for now. which I have a shelf on my Goodreads for that, but yeah. A little bit of psychoanalysis with Meg. So I just got out of the bath. As you can see, pyjamas are very much on. I live my life in pyjamas. I am 60% through the reappearance of Rachel Price. And I forgot how much I loved reading thrillers. I'm so glad I had the idea to do this, because I just forgot how much fun it is to just sit and like have all these clues and try and work it out, and like how satisfying it is when you having the best time. And I just love Holly Jackson's writing, so all good. So I was listening to Tortured Poets at Department in the bath, because it's the only thing I've been listening to. And Who's Afraid of Little Old Me fits Belle, our main character, so well. I was listening to it, I was like, okay, this is Belle, because she's so ferocious and so headstrong. But I do kind of like want to shout at her, because I'm like, I feel like she's looking in all the wrong places. Like, that's the one thing that gets me about thrillers, is I get so annoyed. I'm like, you need to go and talk to this person and do this. And obviously, like, the book is written, nothing is going to change. But in my head, I'm like, oh my god, you're doing the wrong thing. So I'm having a lovely time reading it very quickly. I do have lots of theories, but obviously I don't want to get into them because I don't want to spoil it. And I don't know what obviously is going to happen. I do love it, like, when I don't know what's happening, like, I just have little inklings, like, I have characters I'm suspicious of. That's what Holly Jackson does really well, because although not in the last two Good Girls Guide to Murder books, that was really obvious who was doing it, but the payoff wasn't the twist in the, like, mystery. The payoff was after it, if that makes sense. But this one, not a clue. It makes me so much more excited to read a thriller when I'm like, yeah, I know what's happening here. Unless we get to the end and it's like something really out of the blue. Like, that annoys me. But I guess we'll see if we read any like that today. I think I'm gonna head downstairs again, because I'm a bit fed up of being on my own in my room. I want to see my doggy. So I'm gonna go and chill out on the sofa, and hopefully I will finish this pretty soon. And then I will choose the next book. And we're having a grand old time. I'm so glad I decided to do this. I might do this like 400 more times. No, that's a joke. Don't expect 400 more of these books. It's also so much more comfortable for me to read on a Kindle. I know I like reading physical books and I like collecting physical books, and they look better on the video, but I read so much quicker and so much better because I can lie down, I can get in whatever position I need to without having to stop reading. So probably going to be making a lot more use of the Kindle. The problem I have when I do these vlogs is I start it and I'm like, yeah, I'll update through the whole day and it'll be great. And then I actually start it, and as I get more tired, like, I'm happy to keep reading, but doing the updates is the hardest bit, which is pointless because that's the entire point of doing the vlog. So anyway, here I am. It's freezing, so I have a hot water bottle. I finished The Reappearance of Rachel Price. I gave it 4 stars. It is easily my favourite Holly Jackson book I've read. I very much enjoyed it. My favourite part about Holly Jackson books is you get the reveal and you get all the satisfaction of, like, learning where all the threads, like, come together. But then there's always action afterwards, so it's not like that's the end of the book. She just writes it really well, and it was a very satisfying ending. Very satisfying. Although there were, like, some bits I'm like, I feel like people got away with things, but then also, like, I was like, no, this is a really good ending. And it made me, it was a really sad ending as well. If you really think about it, it's incredibly sad. Like, Oh, anyway, I don't know how to talk about it without spoiling it, which again is kind of the whole point of this vlog, so you're welcome. I'm just being an amazing booktuber again. But overall, very much enjoyed it. My favourite Holly Jackson book. I don't know why I worried about it being nearly 500 pages, because I literally read it so quickly. Like, it's like 3 o'clock now, so it was very good. And then I started the next book. I started The Legacies. I don't know who this is by. Jessica someone? I'll put a picture up. But the reason I chose this is because the cover and the premise is very similar to a book that I've read called The Ivies by Alexa Donne, which is about like a group of girls who are all trying to get into the Ivy League schools, and one of them dies, and it's like the mystery of trying to find out who did it. And it's very similar in terms of it's like privileged people in a high school. It's very Gossip Girl, like Pretty Little Liars vibes, and all we know is someone is dead at a ball that we're leading up to, so it's kind of like told in flashbacks from like, we get the story of what's happening on the night, and then we go back to like 4 days before the night. The character that should be insufferable, Bernie, who is like the most privileged, the one that like in any book you'd be like, you're annoying, you're a bitch. I like her the most at the moment. Everyone else is kind of annoying, because we have like the underprivileged scholarship kid who is kind of whiny. Like, she's got a lot to whine about, to be fair, but like, I'm reading this because I enjoy reading about privileged people, because I will never experience that. Like, that's the fun of it, right? So when you have like one character being like, oh, all these privileged people, I'm like, yeah, but that's why I'm reading it. That sounds so horrific. Eat the rich. But still write books about them because they're very entertaining. But yeah, Bernie I like the most. Her mum is missing. We don't know what that has to do with anything. We don't know who's died. We just know there's a body. And then we have Bernie, we have Tori, the scholarship girl, and then we have Isabel, who's supposedly Bernie's best friend, but there's something fishy going on with her and Bernie's boyfriend, who is an absolute prick. Already just immediate red flags. So I'm a quarter of the way through. Very little has happened, realistically. Like, I feel like we're not getting very many clues. We're sort of still just setting up characters. And for a quarter of the way through a 300-page book, I don't know, maybe you could have used that space for something better. But we're now 3 days before the big ball where someone dies, so something's got to happen soon. But yeah, overall, enjoying it. Definitely not as well written as Holly Jackson's thrillers. Is a little bit stilted in parts, and a little bit like, and some of the characters do tend to like weave together. There's not very distinct voices between them. But like, it's not awful. I'm having a nice time reading it, so yeah, I got the snooker on. It's about 3:30. I've eaten my body weight in salted caramel biscuits. And yeah, that's your update. I am gonna lie down and read some more now. Honestly, it would not surprise me if I just laid on the sofa and finished this book and then started another one. So if the next time I update you, I'm like, I've started another book, don't shout at me. I warned you it might happen. This book is a bit of a slog. It's 5 o'clock. I haven't finished it. I thought I'd like speed through it in 2 hours. I've had a bit of a wobbler. I'm sleepy, so like my brain isn't working, but like I can't sleep. And now I've got the hiccups. It's a whole thing. But this is definitely slow going, this book. The pacing is interesting. You basically learn nothing for 3 chapters at a time. And then she dumps all the information on you in one like flash forward scene. And you're like, well, now I don't really need to read the rest of the book because you've just told me what's happened. I'm not overly enjoying this. I think it's made me decide I want to read like a proper thriller, like maybe like a Riley Sager after this. I also miss doing my cross stitch. That's the one thing I feel like I want to be doing with my hands. And if I listen to audiobooks, it would be great because I could just do that. But audiobooks just don't work with my brain. So here I am, lying in bed, feeling slightly sorry for myself. And kind of just wanting this book to be over now. I feel like I as much as I go on and on about how I love rich people drama books. Sometimes they're just not that fun. Like, when they're petty and they're funny and you can just, like, you know you'll never relate to it, that's fun. This one is just, like, frustrating. And the thing that gets me is there's multiple mentions about how privileged everyone here is. But, like, so in the flash forward scenes, the police are there and they're, like, investigating and stuff, and I'm like, this is just not how this would work. If this incredibly exclusive, privileged club, something happened like this there, so they found, like, a body, whatever. It's not a spoiler, because you find out about it in, like, the first chapter. Like, they would just buy their way out of it, surely. Like, we're talking, like, these detectives aren't exactly great at their job. We're talking, like, LAPD and O.J. Simpson here. But, like, there's the privilege works, so, like, one guy manages to get out and is, like, gets a picture with one of the detectives and they let him go. But no one else does, and I'm like, but they all have all this money and all this power and all this influence, so if it works for one guy, why is no one else doing this? But that's just my annoyance at inconsistencies, because the world doesn't fit a pattern as much as my autistic brain would like it to. But yeah, I am not planning to move until I finish this book, because I just want it to be over. I've only got like 100 pages left to go. It just feels like 100 of these pages were like 700 Holly Jackson pages. It's 7 o'clock. I am back in my bed, as you can see, my favourite spot. Crap, I need to take my tablets. I think I might have just killed a Sylvanian. So, it's 7 o'clock. I have started reading book 3, which means I finished The Legacies by... I still don't remember her name, I'm so sorry. Jessica someone. I'll put the cover up. In the end, I gave it 2.5 stars, because although it was a slog to get through because the pacing was just... like, nothing happened and then everything happened at once. And I get that it's a thriller, but, like, you know, tease me a bit more. Give me a few more clues before you just drop it all on me. I have to say, the reveal and, like, the payoff was very satisfying. But, like... there's two parts of me. There's the part that's torn where I'm like, yeah, it was really satisfying. And like, good riddance and everything. And then there's the part of me that's like, yeah, but all these privileged people and you're telling me like the good guys won. It's just not realistic, and that's why I think the Ivies did it better. So I gave it 2.5 stars, which is like not a bad rating. It's like half of 5, right? That's what I considered it. Anyway, so I finished that, and then I've sort of just had an hour of quiet time because I had a minor breakdown. But I did choose my third book, which I chose The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. So I had a couple of books by them because they're quite well-known thriller authors. I think I gave them to my mum because I just like could never see myself reading them. But as I was like scrolling through my Kindle, which now, can I add, I have an even greater desire to just buy even more thrillers, which is not what this was supposed to be about. This was supposed to be about getting through some of them, not like buying more. But anyway, it just stuck out to me as being quite an interesting title, so I checked it out on Goodreads, and so far we've met our golden couple, who are Marissa and Matthew. They are both pretty insufferable. Marissa has had like a one-night stand and she confessed it to Matthew, and then we have Avery, who is like, well, she's a therapist but she's lost her therapist license and she does things in a kind of unconventional way. And now we've been introduced to like a pharmaceutical company that Avery is terrified of. There's a lot of characters within the first, I think I'm like 15% in, should we have a look? 17% in. There's a lot of characters, a lot of people to get to know, and they all seem very similar. Like there's like an ex-husband who's dead, and then his daughter, and I get confused between the daughter and like her friend. It's kind of confusing, but I'm hoping as I read more I will get more into it and understand who everyone is a little bit better. Right now I have genuinely no idea where I think this is going, other than maybe the pharmaceutical brand doing something bad, because that's the sort of thing they do. So yeah, I don't know when I'll update you on that, because the updates are getting hard, but we're doing them because that's the point of the vlog, and it means I get to talk about books, and I like talking about books because it makes me happy. So I'm on my third book at 7. I'm kind of hoping I can finish this one, maybe read another one tonight. If I'm not gonna sleep very well because I'm not taking my meds, it kind of makes sense that I could. So I'm thinking, and then another book in the morning, that would be 5 maybe. That would be a good number to do. I'd be happy with 5 books. I mean, I'd be happy with any amount of books because I have read no books. But we all know I just held myself to ridiculously high standards, so who knows. But yeah, very much enjoying being... I just love with thrillers, there's nothing you have to learn. Like, with romances, it gets you in your feels, and you're like I could sometimes feel quite sad after reading a romance because I'm like, it's never gonna be my turn, God. But like with a thriller, you just get to have a great time and be all excited, and it feels like it's a real, like, I love the page turning aspect of it, and I feel like I really should have read more in the last couple of years, but I just haven't. And they've been the ones I've been getting rid of the most from my bookshelf. And now I'm like, well, I want loads of them, so I might have to do a little spree when I finish this video tomorrow and see what more thrillers I can find. Saying that, I'll probably not read another one for the next 6 months, but I am on chapter 8 of The Golden Couple. I am gonna pop the snooker back on because I am an old woman, and I'm probably going to spend the rest of the night horizontal until I need to come back on here and talk about books. And that's not in a fun way, I mean horizontal in a I'm exhausted and this is the only way I can function. Also, I didn't anticipate that I'd have to charge my Kindle, but because it's quite old, it doesn't hold charge very much, and I've been on it all day. I've had it open pretty much all day, so poor Don't Blame Me, the Kindle has had to be plugged in after less than a day's usage. I mean, she is like almost 10 years old now, so, you know, we'll cut her some slack, but she's plugged in. We're not doing portable reading, we're doing attached to electricity reading. It is nearly 9 o'clock, hence the terrible lighting. You're very welcome. I am just ready to get into bed. Can you tell? I've actually had quite a rough night, and usually when I feel like this, when I feel rough, the first thing I do is like a quit, whatever. Like I've started filming a lot of vlogs and not many of them have got to YouTube, clearly. So I hope you appreciate that I'm trying my hardest to push through things instead of just doing the easy thing and giving up. I hope my therapist also appreciates that. But yeah, it is nearly 9 o'clock. I am about 2/3 of the way through The Golden Couple. Everyone is suspicious. Including, I feel like we may have a case of an unreliable narrator, because Sis is more of a detective than a therapist, but like the only real danger is from the therapist. The therapist is being like chased or like hunted by this pharmaceutical company, and that's the only real like danger we see. Everyone else is just like family drama, like affairs and who's like shagged who, basically. So it's all like really dramatic and suspicious, but there's no real like danger. So I'm like, I feel like it's creeping up on me, like something big is gonna happen. I'm gonna be like, whoa, because I definitely can't see it coming, which I guess is the mark of a good thriller. So I am enjoying that. Again, maybe it's because Holly Jackson writes more YA new adult thrillers. The other two I've read have been kind of slow. Maybe that's just the mark of adult thrillers, that they're slower and it's more of a burn. I don't know, but this one feels different because normally you're like, there's like a sense of threat, and there's like none of that. It's more like, oh, are these two people as bad? Is their marriage gonna survive? But like, you can also tell that something's coming, and things are starting to heat up, and I'm like, by the time we get to where something big has happened, I feel like we're not gonna have time to like process everything and like have an ending out of it. I don't know, I guess we'll see. But I am enjoying it, hoping that when I get into bed and get more cozy, I will feel a little bit less anxious. I'm probably gonna watch this new match that's on, and that should finish about 11. And then maybe I'll pop some Susie on, because it feels like that kind of night where I need Susie Wolf to calm me down. I'm not going to be mad if I fall asleep, because like, I'm never going to be mad if I get sleep, but because I haven't taken my tablets, I'm like, I'm probably going to be awake for a while, so I'm hoping I can finish this book and maybe start another one. If I do start another one, I probably won't update tonight. I'll talk about it tomorrow morning. And I might do the same with when I finish this one. We'll see what time it is and how with it I am. But I am fully excited for just a really cozy night of reading. Might get a couple time lapses, because I just haven't had that for a very long time. Even when I was doing like the 31 books, it was one a day. It wasn't one like where I'd have time to read in the night. So touch wood, I should have quite a cozy, settled night, which might make me feel a bit better tomorrow. Who knows? But yeah, that's where we're at. Although, to be fair, I am reading thrillers, and I have just realised, like, they're not like romances where you're like, oh, this is sweet. It's like there is a bit of anxiety that comes with reading them. Who knows? Maybe that's why I'm a little bit anxious. I don't think it is, but I think it's PMDD. But yeah, you're welcome. There's an insight into my mental health. But chapter 28, I am, enjoying it. Oh, am I enjoying it more than the legacies? It's more engaging than the legacies, and I care about the characters more. The characters in the legacies were insufferable, but these ones that have a lot more human qualities to them, they're a lot more three-dimensional than the like two-dimensional privileged people in the legacies. So I like that, and I like how I really have no sense of where it's going, whereas in the legacies it was constantly foreshadowed what was going to happen, but like not in a way that made it. The more I think about this book, the more I think, yeah, the legacies was not that great. So I definitely am enjoying it more than the legacies, but I kind of have an idea of what I want to read next. I downloaded a book last night called The Mystery Writer. I think it's more of a mystery than a thriller, but like mystery thriller, same thing, right? That's what we're gonna go with. And I might choose that one. And my other option is I have a lot of thrillers downloaded about like social media influencers and stuff like that, because I read, is it People Like Her? It was the Ellery Lloyd book about an influencer ages ago that Olivia Reads a Latte read, and I really enjoyed that, so I went on a spree where I got loads of like influencer thrillers. So I've got a couple of them I can work through as well, and both of them seem like they'd be really like light concentration books, so I can read them while I'm sort of like sleepy but not able to fall asleep. So I will most likely talk to you again in the morning, and then I have until 11 AM to read as much as I can. I'm definitely reading quicker on my Kindle than I do physical books. And I want to say I'm absorbing more as well, because I'm thinking more about, maybe it is because it's thrillers, so I'm like constantly thinking about it. I'm like, well, who's this? What are they going to do? Are they sus? Everyone's sus in this book, so. But yeah, I will most likely see you in the morning. You might get some time lapses if you're lucky. Who knows? And yeah, wish me luck. So I never filmed this yesterday because I had a migraine and a breakdown. But anyway, we won't talk about this. It is the next day. I did finish my readathon. Kind of. I read 4 books, which I feel like is a very good amount of books considering I've read no books for the entirety of April before that. So I left off, I finished The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, which I gave 4 stars, but now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I think I was slightly enamoured by like the plot twist and the reveal, because when I was like looking at the reviews, everyone was like, oh, it was so obvious, and I was like, was it? Because I did not clock it at all. I'm so bad at clocking like what's gonna happen. I just am. But anyway, I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It definitely didn't go where I thought it was gonna go, which makes the next book even worse. So I read The Mystery Writer by, should we have a look? By Solari Gentile. Listen, I was so excited for this book. I think it was a new release. That's why I found it. So I started it in the night, and then I woke up early in the morning and I finished it, and I went back to sleep and woke up with migraine. Anyway, so I was really excited for it. It's the premise is like an aspiring author meets a like long time successful author at a coffee shop where they're both writing, and then that author turns up dead, and then we kind of move on from that. And I like the first 15%, I was so intrigued. Up until the like successful author dies, I was like, this is good. We had like a kind of QAnon style conspiracy going on that like was gonna intersect with this plot, and I was like, this is, yeah, I like this. I didn't like it. I gave it 2 stars because, like I said, I am so shit at guessing where the plot is going in thrillers. And I guessed within the first 20%. I was like, oh, they're the bad guys. And they were. But like, to get to the point where we knew they were the bad guys was the most convoluted, unnecessarily complex, weird, it was just bizarre. Like, we had a random 2-year time skip just within the space of a paragraph. Like, we're not even talking another chapter, we just went 2 years later, and I was like, what? It just was bizarre. And I didn't enjoy it. And it was one of those thrillers, that's why I haven't read them for so long, because I read one bad one and I'm like, oh, these are crap. Because like, I find myself wanting to skip it, because like, well, I want to know what happens, so I'm not just going to put it down, but like, I don't care about the rest of this. Like, I just want to get to the end. So it was like, it was a slog to just like actually read it and not just go and skip to the end. So yeah, that was only a 2 stars, which was disappointing. But I have started another thriller because I was like, I'm not going to let this be the last one I read before I like don't read any more thrillers for the next year. So I started a book called Like Me by Hayley, I think it's Finam. I'm only like 27% of the way through, and it's like just a book I will be casually reading. Like, I'm not like 24-hour reading it or anything like that, but yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. So hopefully we have broken the back of the reading slump, which was the whole point of this. Should we all do a big fingers crossed? I really need to update my reading journal because I just have not done it since, again, the 31 books in 31 days. Can you tell that put me in just a life slump in general? But yeah, I apologise that we ended on a kind of bad note, on a weird note, because I had a breakdown. But anyway, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. I cannot promise I will be back very soon, because as we've seen, I am the most inconsistent booktuber of all time. I do have a video that I want to film next week, but like, who knows if I'll actually do it. I guess we'll see if this goes up. I was also planning to edit this today, and now I'm thinking about it. Now I think I'm just gonna cross stitch. But anyway, 4 books in 24 hours is not bad. Not my best, but not bad. So yeah, I will see you all in my next video. Who knows when.